Hi, I'm Xavier Murphy, founder of Jamaicans.com. I know typically I'm doing Jamaicans to the world, and I'm kind of doing Jamaicans to the world today because I am bringing back Tarek and Owen, who were two medical students in Ukraine. They were in Ukraine at the time. They're now in Jamaica. And as many of you know, there's a war going on in Ukraine, and the students had to get out. Now, their story is, wow. I let them tell it, but I want everyone to understand that not because they're back home, the story is finished, and you will hear more about it. Please also pay attention to the description because there are organizations that want to help the students and will be helping the students. So please look at the description and find out how you can help. All right, Tarek, Owen, good to see you guys. I know during that whole experience, you and I were communicating via WhatsApp, and I'm probably tired to hear from me. But you guys are near and dear to me, and circumstances. How are you guys doing? And I want to get into the story, but how you guys doing?
Doing a little better. I'm happy to be home and away from the scene of everything that is happening, but still affected by it nonetheless. So
Okay.
far, mentally, I'm not as bad as most of the other Jamaicans who were there. So I'm grateful for that.
Okay.
I am good and bad at the same time. Some days are good, some days bad. When we just crossed the border to Poland, I could hardly sleep. When we transitioned to the US, I was sleeping too much. And now I'm in Jamaica. It's a bit of both. I'm sleeping, but I'm waking up 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock having night terrors.
Oh my gosh. I can't imagine. Let's back up a little bit. Tell us, when you guys started to say, okay, we have to go. What was that like? I know a little bit because again we were messaging via WhatsApp, but tell us about that experience. And one of the things I'm interested in understanding, and I think people will need to understand this one. I can't imagine knowing that I have to leave. No, that decision of what do I take and what do I leave?
So the moment we knew we had to leave was the moment everything started, which was February 24th. Everything before February 24th was completely normal. I know CNN and BBC would be showing a different image, but being on the ground in Ukraine, in Kharkiv at the time, the Monday before everything started, the Tuesday before everything started, the Wednesday before everything started was completely normal. Everything was business as usual. So we weren't 100% worried. I was worried because my parents were sending me clips of what was happening, what was being portrayed on CNN. But on the ground, everything was completely normal. When we knew we had to leave was the day everything started. But we had already booked tickets to leave. We couldn't get the flight because airports were closed, but we booked tickets because our parents were worried. But everything before that was completely 100% normal.
Wow. And let me ask you this, because you are in, what year are you in, Tarek?
We're both in final year. We would have our exam on May 25, so that would be the finalizing exam that would get us our diploma.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. And so I don't want I jumping around here. So let's move on. So you pack a bag, you make a decision that I'm leaving this and I'm taking this.
All right. So, as Owen said, we had already booked tickets. So our flight was for 9 p.m. on February 24th, and all of this event started at about between 4 and 5 a.m. on February 24th. So We woke up hearing sounds outside like boom, boom. When I got up, I was like, this isn't breeze blowing and stuff like that because it was just different. So I looked out the window, I didn't see anything. I didn't see like hail falling or anything. There's no rain. So I went and I woke up Owen. I'm like, yo, you hear what happened? You hear the sound? And he's like, what is that? And I'm like, I think they're bombing the country. And that's when he got up, and then we started messaging with other Jamaicans, finding out what they're doing. If they're hearing anything, then some person sent videos from, because based on their location, they would be able to see closer towards the border, because Kharkiv is right on the border with Russia. So some persons were able to make videos of, you could see explosions in the distance. You could see smoke fuming on other sides as well. But the sound was very strong. So you know that definitely something is happening. And this was all at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Wow. And your tickets were booked for what time?
9 p.m.
Oh.
Yeah.
So what was next? What was the decision? You're calling around. The decision was to do what at that point?
The decision at that point was to ensure that everyone, meaning the Jamaican community, was okay. We all have a WhatsApp group. So we messaged and called everyone, where are you, what's going on? We created a buddy system. So if you're living in the same area, go to this person's house so everybody could be together. After that, everyone got together. Some of them decided that they were going to go to the metros because they're bomb shelters. And they were there for the entire night. They spent Thursday night there and went home the Friday morning. Luckily for us, we were living in a country area, so we didn't think that we would have been affected as opposed to those in the city. And maybe around 4 5 p.m., one of our Ukrainian friends called us and like, where are you guys? I said, we're home. And they're like, okay, get your bags packed. I'm coming to get you. My sister's company has a bus that's taking its employees and family members from Kharkiv to Lviv, which is in the westward part of Ukraine. So literally in 2 minutes, everything was already packed. So it's just to reorganize what is essential, because if it is that they start attacking the bus and we need to run, we can't have a heavy backpack. So it's just to reorganize what was in the bag, what's essential documents and food. And that was it. We were out in 2 minutes. He drove us to meet the bus. We went on the bus, and then we were headed towards Lviv.
All right. And I know you were headed to, or I believe, based on some of the communications that we're having, you were headed to a train station.
No, that's not us. The train station,
okay.
rest of the Jamaicans, because we were on a bus. We traveled for, you can call it 2 days on a bus. The usual time for this journey is about 18 hours, but for us it was much longer because the driver tried to find the best routes and the safest routes. At one point in time, at that time, we should have had about 4 hours left on our journey, but then he decided to take another route because of something that was happening at that time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so along the way, what were you seeing along the way, and what was going on along the way on the bus?
When we just left Kharkov, there was an abandoned tank or tanker.
It wasn't abandoned.
I don't know if it wasn't moving. It was parked in the middle of the road. The bus had to drive around it. Driving, we could see missiles flying overhead. At this point, I was wondering, what if one of them happens to fall on the bus or close to the bus? We'd be affected. We could see jets flying overhead as well. It was all scary. At this point, it was night. We're going through forested roads, and because of what's happening, the mind starts to play a game on you. So literally everything through the bus window started to look like a scene from a horror movie. Every tree, every leaf, every scandal bag that was blowing seemed like it could be the Russian invader.
Wow. And in terms of along the way, were there people walking along the way trying to get to the borders that you were trying to get to also, or the town that you were trying to get to? Was there traffic along the way? What describe that a little bit, that whole journey?
So in terms of traffic, for a good distance, you didn't have any traffic while leaving the city. But then at different points along the route, we did find a lot of traffic because everybody's trying to head westward. Because going west would be the safer bet. Because as I said, Kharkiv is on the the western border of Russia, so they're directly connected. Because on a regular day, if you're driving, you could take an hour to cross the border into Russia from Kharkiv. So that's how close we are. But along the road, you just have traffic. We didn't experience as much traffic, thanks God, thanks be to God. But a lot of persons they were stuck in traffic for a good while. We didn't. In terms of the border, that's a different question, a different situation, because we have to get to Lviv in order to cross the border, and we weren't at the border as yet. We got there on Sunday.
Okay. And were there other Jamaican students on the bus with you?
Just the two of us.
Okay. So you're with Ukrainians, just headed there with these Ukrainian people.
Yeah, that's correct. It was just us on the bus as blacks. Everyone else was Ukraine. Everyone else was employed to the company or related to someone employed to the company.
And did your friend, the one that made the arrangement, I don't know if it's a he or she, but was she on the bus too?
Yes, he was on the bus. It was him, his mother, his two sisters. One of the sisters worked for the company, and his girlfriend.
Okay. And the bus didn't encounter any nobody stopped the bus or anything like that.
The bus was stopped several times by either policemen or soldiermen. Along the road, they had checkpoints. So a few points they just stopped and asked the driver what he was doing, where he was going, who was in the bus. I think only 2 times they came in the bus and asked for documents to verify who was actually in the bus.
Okay. So fast forward now, you get to what's the town you're headed to?
Lviv.
Lviv.
Lviv or Lvov.
Lviv.
Lvov.
Okay.
But let's say
Okay.
Lviv.
Lviv.
Yes.
So you get there. What's the scene like? Because I believe this was a border town or close enough to the closest big town, I believe, to the border.
It was quite quiet when we got there. We arrived at about 6 in the morning. We went inside the company. They had food and everything ready for all of us, so that was very good. But in terms of the whole scene, it was quiet. They explained the rules of staying inside. So if you hear the air alarm go off, then you're all supposed to go to the basement because that would be the safest place in the building in case there's a shelling. So we were there up and down. It was like an exercise routine for the day because we're up, down several times because you had several air signals going off. Later on in the day, because the rest of the Jamaicans would have arrived in the evening, we went out, Owen, myself, and another guy who was in Kiev. So he was scheduled to leave on the same day, but what happened is he was supposed to leave on Tuesday, I believe, and as a result of there was some issue with his COVID certificate, and as a result of that, he missed the flight and he was there in Kiev, unaware as to what's happening. When we called him at 9 o'clock in the morning, asking if he's okay, if he had left and whatnot, he was like, "No, I'm in the hotel, I'm sleeping. I didn't hear anything at all." And everything, you just have this whole scene happening around him. So he came, we took a taxi. Oh, a friend of ours made contact with Owen because they were trying to help us to find housing to house everyone for the night. We went out and we found a shelter to stay, but the building was not up to par. And at one point in time, the air alarm went off. We went downstairs waited. We then decided that we would leave and try to find another place because we're not so sure about the security of this building. While we were waiting on the taxi, the air alarm went off again. I was against traveling at that point in time, but Owen and the other guy said, "Let's go. It's better to go because this building doesn't look so safe. So let's take our chances on the road." And we went back to where we were staying.
And then you said by then, no, this is how many Jamaicans in terms of our, were there?
At this point in Lviv, there were 3 Jamaicans, and everyone else, the 24, I believe, were on the train coming from Kharkiv to Lviv. So we're trying to find somewhere for everyone to stay because we couldn't leave to the border the same night that everyone got there. We understand that they'd be tired, so we're trying to find accommodation. Fortunately, the company agreed to take everyone in for the night, and the next morning we all left at 8:30 when curfew was lifted.
Okay. And then how far was the Lviv from the Poland border?
I honestly, it's quite difficult to say because usually people would drive directly there. So for us well, it took us about 20 minutes to get to the point that we stopped. Because when we got the buses that we chartered, they were saying, oh, we can only take you to a particular point. So we'll take you as far as we can, but this is the agreed amount. So regardless if it's just down the road that we can take you or we can take you further, then this is a set amount that you will need to pay. And we said, okay. They took us as far as they could at one point in time. Our bus was ahead. It got through, and then we were stopped by some civilians. The other bus was stopped further down the road, and they had a little incident with some of the citizens who were trying to stop people, trying to cut the line, I guess you could say. They tried to explain that, hey, we are not Ukrainians, we're international students, we're just trying to get them closer to the border and all of that. And they were like, no, we have families here and whatnot, so you just have to stay in line. We were there, we deliberated to try to get assistance. We were in constant communication with some representatives that we were put onto in Poland, and they were trying to make arrangements to try and have things sorted out for us. When we decided to get out of the bus, and the walk was about a 9 hour walk. And
What? Y'all walked for 9 hours
yes,
in the cold
in the cold.
At
with
some
with
point,
with planes and all that flying, all of that going on.
Yeah. As Owen just said, at points in time you had snow falling. When we just started, it started to snow. The temperature fell drastically. Though some persons they were dragging pull carry on baggages. So as a result of the soft shoulder of the road being a little bit wet, it proved difficult in that regard.
Wow. No, this is all the international students or Ukrainians and everybody walking for 9 hours together, or is it just the group, just that Jamaican group walking for 9 hours?
it was a mix. You had a few Ukrainians walking, but mostly it was international students. The Ukrainians, most of them stayed in their cars and waited in the traffic, which I don't know how long it would have taken them because it was standstill. Like the traffic was literally not moving.
Man. So, I mean, what about food? I mean, you're talking 9 hours in the cold here.
We had packed food, but luckily along the roadway, you had Ukrainians who set up roadside shop. So they would have wood fire, coal fire, and they'd be making mashed potatoes or soup and tea and sandwiches to give out to anybody who needed it.
Oh, that was nice.
Adding to that, with in regards to the travel from Kharkiv to Lviv, the only thing that we actually ate in that 2 day drive was a pack of Excelsior cinnamon crackers and a tin of Vienna sausage.
Excelsior, hey, the Excelsior crackers will fill you up, really. They come in handy. No, you get to the border. What is that scene like, and what was happening there?
So when we got to the border, well, we thought we had gotten to the border before we got to the border because there was like a big sign and all of that. So we're like, oh yeah, we reached. But then we were just passing the traffic leading up to the border. When we got there, there was a long line There's no tent or anything of the sort. Outside is very cold, and you're standing in line. You're there, nobody's telling you what's going on. You're just there standing. There's one guy who I guess is regulating traffic. He walks up and down, tell you, okay, stay closer to that side, don't move, and all of that. We were there waiting, and then about 2 hours in, one Jamaican, she fell ill. Uh, we rushed to her aid, and it seemed as if she was suffering from hypothermia because she was breathing heavily, to some extent wheezing, gasping for air. You had crystals forming on her lips and stuff. She faded. I ran to the security officer that was there and um, told him, "Hey, we need an ambulance," and he was like, "Oh, 103. So you should go ahead and call the ambulance for yourself." I called, I didn't get an answer, and then luckily we saw an ambulance show up. We then had to, so the guardrails that you have on the highway, we had to
Yes.
jump over that in order to lift her over and then try to take her to the ambulance. None of them really assisted us, so we went there. Owen stayed inside with the ambulance. I was there in contact with the contacts that we have. So the representatives that we had waiting for us at the Polish border, they were able to speak with the team in Poland, got closer within the 3 kilometers border, and they were there waiting for us. They made contact with the commandant on the Polish side. They then made contact with the commandant on the Ukrainian side, who then had to make contact with the chief or the night supervisor, shift supervisor at that time. We're not getting anywhere. We're there. We're trying to get some assistance, not really getting anywhere. And then the problem is being that we were in Kharkiv, because there's a bilingual status, or was a bilingual status in Ukraine. On the western end, they speak
Mm.
Ukrainian, the eastern end is Russian. So, being that we were familiar with Russian language and now trying to explain something in Ukrainian, they're talking in Ukrainian, and we can't understand anything. So, that proved to be a little bit difficult. We had to back out the translators and try to tell them what we're telling them and all of that. So while the student was there getting aid, I was there with the personnel. So big up Lily and Brinsley from Poland, Olivia, because they were the persons helping us. Owen was inside the ambulance. I'm outside making contact, trying to work out situation, how we're going to get across. They're trying to speak to them to say, all right, we have a ill person on that side. Could you just allow them to come across and stuff? We will get them medical treatment in Poland because it makes no sense for you to have a war and then you're going to send them back in the event there's a dire situation, send them back into the war area. Just doesn't make any sense. That went on for a good while. The person who was ill was eventually released from the ambulance. There's still no warm area. We're sitting by a fire. She has on a aluminum blanket, which is supposed to help with the warm. We had several blankets to wrap her up with, try get her a little warmth and stuff. It was an ordeal.
So you walk 9 hours to the border, and then now you can't get across because of whatever reason. I mean, I know the Jamaican officials because I have to big up Anthony. I know Anthony went with them. Anthony, we interviewed, folks who don't know Anthony, we interviewed. He's in Poland, and I had reached out to Anthony and told him these two guys were coming to the border, and he was on the other side. So let me back up now. So you're at the border, 9 hours. Now you're stuck there. How long were you stuck there? What happened? How did they finally now say, all right, let these Jamaican students cross?
So it wasn't a case where they said, let these Jamaican students cross. It was a case where we had to join the line. The line to get inside where they had the campfires to keep us warm. Once we got there, we had to join another line, and we stood in line for maybe 5, 6 hours, 10 hours, 10 hours. Once we got past that point, we went inside a building where Ukrainian border officials would stamp us out of the country. Um, this was a bit tedious because there are only two officials working in the building. You have maybe 100 to 500, 600 persons inside. There is no line, there is no order, no conduct. So it's basically one person gets through with the custom agent and everybody's fighting for this position.
Free for all.
Free for all. And at this point, we still have the girl who is sick. She could hardly stand. And another Jamaican also was sick. He wasn't as bad as her, but he couldn't stand just the same. So at this point, we're fighting for ourselves and we're fighting for them. And it's just utter confusion. We're there in the office now, maybe 2 hours, 3 hours waiting. Finally got the book stamped, went through to the Polish side, and there was much better.
Okay. So you walk out of this building. So this building is right on the border. You walk out of the building, and then the Jamaican officials are there. I guess, are they waving a flag, a Jamaican flag, to say, "Hey, this is us"?
No. So what had happened is there was one contact person that Olivia had there. She spoke with him. She sent a photo. She said, okay, this is a guy. He has on this blinker on him, so you can't miss him. And then when we got out, we exited the building, turned right, and we walked up. Once we left Ukrainian soil, there were persons, security team members, I guess you could call them. They were like shouting, "Are you Jamaican, Jamaican, Jamaican?" So you had several of them. They're like, "Okay, come with us," and then they directed us to this one person, and everything was just smooth. We went to there were two windows within which we needed to get our book stamped, and then the bus was right there waiting for us.
So tired, hungry,
one beard.
Yes, warm beard, need some warm clothes and everything. What was it like the few days in Poland? I mean, I'm sure you needed some time to recover.
In Poland, it was paradise. Thanks to the Jamaican government, or the Jamaican government and Olivia and Brinsley, they got a hotel for us. It was 2 persons per room, but at this point, sleeping on the ground, it becomes paradise. We're in Poland. We arrived in Poland Monday and we left on Wednesday. So we spent 3 days there. We got food at the hotel. The government provided essential necessities for us. So they went out for persons who didn't have clothes. They got clothes, deodorants, etc.
Okay.
Really appreciate that. And we were each allocated 75 euros for anything else that they couldn't provide, but we would have needed.
Okay.
We did the COVID test, and on Wednesday we were on our flights, most of them to Jamaica, Tarek and myself to the US.
Okay.
Olivia and Brinsley, they own a restaurant in Poland called Boom Shakalaka. So they were the ones who provided dinner for us. When we got to Poland, they had patties waiting. So
really nice, really nice.
Yes.
What a welcome. It may not have been the flag, but the patties certainly help, I'm sure.
It did. It
No,
did. We're just
go ahead, I'm sorry.
because they were just so warm and welcoming. They went out of their way. I mean, traveling for hours, waiting for hours outside, trying
Right.
to ensure that we got across safely and everybody is well and all of that. So it just shows you going above and beyond.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was very good.
Yes, I was in touch with, as I said, and I know Anthony came out there, and I was in touch with him, and he was telling me about their restaurant and how, they were just above and beyond, going out of the way. Big up to them. So I wanted to ask about the young lady, the one that got sick, and the young man. How are they doing?
They are much better. The young lady was sick, as Tarek said, because of the extreme cold. Once she got settled in the bus and in the hotel, she was good.
Okay.
No more symptoms. She's home now. She's happy. The young man, I didn't follow up with him, but he was having, I don't know if he walked too much, but his foot started to swell.
Okay.
Once we were in Poland, the swelling went down, but I didn't follow up once he got to Jamaica.
Okay.
And there was another one who is also anemic. I think you would have seen her interview with Miss Kitty.
Yes, I did.
She was also ill, but she pushed through. She did.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you're back home. I mean, there are a couple challenges, and we spoke about this, but I don't think people understand how big of a challenge it is to just pick up. And I didn't realize you were this close to a degree. What is the biggest challenge now? And I let you talk about it. I know a little bit, but what's the biggest challenge now of trying to complete that?
The biggest challenge for most persons is, first of all, everything is left in Ukraine. We don't have any transcripts. It's not like we had time to prepare. As a matter of fact, our university carries in getting transcripts are under two occasions. It's either you're expelled from school and they give you a transcript to show where you got expelled and your grades up to this point, or you have graduated and they give you a transcript to further education. Other than that, it's almost impossible to get one. We had requested one, and the response that we got was that they're preparing us for state exam. They're registering us for state exam, and they don't have time to prepare a transcript right now. So most persons don't have a transcript at all. Um, you're fleeing. The universities are in a state of disarray, so they don't have anything prepared. Again, Ukraine is a mostly paper-based system, so most of our grades would have been documented in a big book they call a Vidomas. And it was then like at the end of each year, we would have a credit book that we would go to the dean's office, hand it in, and the teachers would put in the grade, and the office would stamp it to say, yeah, this is official or sort of official. Because of COVID, that book has not been updated since fourth year for us, so that's 2 years back. So 2 years back, we have no grades to show that, yeah, we did these subjects and these are the grades we received.
Wow. So can your and I'm just throwing this out there. I don't know. I'm not an educator. I'm not familiar with even, you guys are studying to be doctors, but can the grades or the class, well, it's paper based. It can the classes you registered for kind of serve as some type of proof?
So how it works is, as everything is paper based. So you don't register for your classes. Your classes are registered. They are automatically given to you. So like we will be doing electives, which we didn't choose, but they're electives nonetheless. So you get a timetable. They publish a timetable for the entire sixth year or whichever course you're in. They publish the timetable, and then based on the group that you're in, because you'll have some classes, two groups will merge together to do that one particular class. So you have, for example, 511, 512 are this is your timetable, and that you just know that you'll have this and this on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You just show up for your classes. That's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
They do have a online, well, they say they have an online grading system, but the servers were damaged because a bomb fell not even a kilometers from where the school was.
Oh.
Yeah.
So that that just don't sound good at all.
It's not.
So you guys, as you said, were going to graduate in May. No, again, I know. I think it's how many years? Doctors go through one whole heap of years.
It's a lifetime.
Right.
It's a lifetime.
So was it, then residency, or what was your next step after graduation?
So after graduation, depending on what you choose to do. So you have options. If, for example, us being Jamaicans, we would come back to Jamaica and write the CAMC exam, which can be done during internship. And then that would get us registered as medical practitioners in Jamaica. If you don't choose to go, you don't choose Jamaica, then you could always do the USMLE step 1, 2, and 3 exams, which allows you passage into the US, or you could do PLAB 1 and 2, which takes you into UK.
Okay. And I'm sure you
Touching
guys.
that point, touching on that point, Xavier, Tarek and I had actually registered for the preliminary exams for PLAB, because you have to do an English sitting exam before you can do the actual exam, and we had registered for that, and everything is basically down the drain at this point.
And you were to take that exam where?
In Ukraine.
And you had to pay. You pay for that exam and
$200.
And it can't be transferred outside because we messaged the board for the English exam, the IELTS, British Council, and they're saying that they can only transfer it to an EU country. It can't be transferred anywhere else. So that's up in smoke.
I'm sure there are a lot of students there. Have you heard anything? And I know, anything in terms of how these boards or these, if there's going to be anything where their grandfather people in or whatever, you heard anything or nothing yet, or it's too early?
There are several sources online that countries surrounding Ukraine, like Poland, Romania, Lithuania, they're accepting students. One of the problems for us is that we're not within the region, and they're prioritizing, firstly, Ukrainians who are displaced, and secondly, international students who are displaced and are within the region who can be registered easily. Being that we're all in Jamaica now, it becomes very tedious to get registered. And while those schools within the EU are accepting us on the condition that we're displaced and they understand we don't have a transcript, schools outside of that region, like within the US or even in Jamaica, UEMONO, are demanding a transcript, which right now it's impossible to get.
Oh, wow. This is heartbreaking, just hearing that you're a couple months away. I can't imagine the distraught and the emotions that you guys are going through. Wow. Folks, please, if anybody knows anything, can comment. And again, let me mention this again. There are organizations that I'm aware of. I know Owen and Tarek have spoken to a couple of organizations that are working. We'll put those in the comments. Now, the other thing is this, pick up, leave, jump to Jamaica. You're not walking into jobs, right? You guys haven't been offered any jobs or anything like that. You're just there. Correct?
Yeah. 1 minute. Could we backtrack a little bit? We'd just like to make it known that even though UE has come out in the public to say that none of us have applied or taken up their offer, UE has not contacted any student. And that one of the major problems that we're facing is that persons went to the cheaper option because UE is $28,000 per year, and in Ukraine you're paying from about, depending on when you started, 3,000 plus to 4,000 plus per year for tuition.
Okay.
Yeah, but they've put out in the media that none of us have taken up their offer. And
what is the offer? The offer requires a transcript, obviously, right? That's what they're saying.
Yes.
So quoting them, it's a case-by-case basis, and they would need a transcript for this case-by-case basis.
Sad. So basically, you're back home now, and there's nothing really per se waiting. You're now back with your family, and I know the family happy. I saw auntie earlier on. I don't know if it's mommy or auntie, right? What was that?
It's my grandma.
Your grandmother. Yeah, grandma, so happy to have you back, man. But here's the other thing. The other side to this is you're back home and you're just stuck. There, I can't imagine what that, if you want to describe what that feels like, because you're just day to day wondering what's going on. Is that the feeling?
It would be remiss of me to say that Tarek and I don't have the opportunity, because prior to going to Ukraine, we already had a degree. I have a degree in experimental biology, and Tarek has a degree, well, 2 degrees, a master's and a bachelor's in environmental biology. And before going to Ukraine, we were working with the forestry department. A co-worker or former co-worker heard of what was happening and said, there are 2 positions there, and if we like, they know that we were good workers, so they would offer the position to us. But this isn't the feel or the view of the general students who have returned. Most of them, all of them, excepting us, this is their first degree, and they don't have an option where to go, what to do.
Okay.
They are just home, and several of them have already stated that they're surprised at the cost of living in Jamaica, because cost of living in Ukraine was very low. Coming back to Jamaica, it's the complete opposite. Everything here is expensive. And being students without jobs and parents who are struggling, because some of them, it was a struggle to find a $3,000, $4,000 for tuition. And then now they're home, nothing to do.
Oh man, what a dilemma, what a situation. Again, folks, we're going to be putting in the comments how you can help. As I've mentioned before, for many folks, they're home and they're back home and they're safe, and that is great. But now they have to live. It's lives that are affected by this, and so we'll put the donation, links to donation, links to organizations, and please help out. So the group, you guys are all in touch. You have a WhatsApp group, and so on. And Owen, you had mentioned some trauma that some trauma. It's trauma. You all are going through trauma at some level. How are others in the group doing? Similar stories, sleep, lack of sleep, so on. What are you hearing?
So a lot of persons, they're going through the phase of acute stress disorder. I heard one person in particular, she's still having nightmares about things. There's one person I heard that went outside and saw soldiers and started to run, and then he's like, "Oh wait, maybe they're Jamaica. Why may I run?" So it's still a very traumatic phase.
Oh my gosh! Wow. And have all the students that you know of, Jamaican students that you know of, are they out of Ukraine?
As far as we know, yes. Most
Okay.
persons are in Jamaica. I am aware of 2 or 3 in Romania right now. Hungary. Everyone else is in Jamaica.
Okay, I see. And the ones that are in, you said Hungary, are they trying to get into school there, or are they headed back eventually?
I think they're trying to get into schools there.
Okay.
I think fruitful as yet, but they're trying.
So that, again, we're not sure, but that might be a model eventually if it works, because they obviously don't have transcripts either.
Yeah.
So, well, gentlemen, I know that there are folks that have reached out to me, wanting to hear what's going on, and help. Have any organizations kind of been in touch with you? You have to say the names of the organizations, but have any organizations been reaching out?
There have been a few who, well, I've spoken to maybe 2. I'm not sure about Owen, but I've spoken to at least 2 organizations who reached out, and they're trying to see how best they can help, how to assist us in terms of possibly recovering things that we lost, or in trying to find schools solutions as to the way forward.
Okay. Well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming back and telling your story. Again, folks, we're going to put in the comments or in the description, any ways you can help so that they can rebuild, because basically they're rebuilding their lives. Again, two months away, and or 3 months, March, April, May, from graduation. Heartbreaking. Any final words, any final thoughts, gentlemen? I mean, I'm heartbroken, but any final words?
Final words to the public. It's don't judge a story before you fully know it. We didn't stay in Ukraine, and I saw a lot of comments stating that we were naive and stupid for staying in Ukraine this long because we got the warnings. We stayed in Ukraine because, on our judgment, everything seemed safe. Wednesday before the war started, everything was 100% safe. And a lot of these persons who came to Ukraine to better themselves. Education in Jamaica is more expensive, and a lot of persons who came to Ukraine came at the age of maybe 18, 19, 20, when they're just starting to discover themselves as an adult. And it's as if their whole adulthood, their whole entire adult life has been disrupted, and right now they're in a state of confusion. So before you're quick to jump to conclusions, show a little compassion.
Learn people's story. That's basically it. Because, as I said to someone before, a lot of persons in Jamaica, or a lot of the persons who are putting negative comments out there, they have not left Jamaica before. And as a result, they don't understand what the world outside Jamaica is like, how it works. So not knowing naivety is something that is very bad. Separate to that, I guess this would probably be for the government. In terms of persons that you put into positions to aid Jamaicans, ensure that they do the work. Because while in Poland, there's an honorary consulate or ambassador who we haven't seen, hasn't made any contact with us. It was just the two persons who basically volunteered their time to help us. We still haven't heard from that person. We don't know who
And
he
Miss
is.
Seeley.
And Miss Seeley. Miss Seeley's government, so that is different. But in terms of you appoint this person to a position to assist members of the diaspora who are in need, and they don't show up because it's not that, I guess, fulfilling or interesting, or they just don't care. They just want the title, but not to do the job.
Last note, a big thank you to everyone who sent out prayers, who have already given donation, who have checked in. It was really comforting to me while I was in the distress to hear that, oh, Owen, I'm praying for you. I didn't get to respond to all the messages at the same time because we're in turmoil. But I
Yes.
really do appreciate Xavier checking in and everyone checking in. Anthony was at the hotel when we got there the Monday. He came back in the night. He was there on the Tuesday. Everyone, family, friends, even strangers, we really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Well,
And,
go ahead, Terry.
and just thanks to the diaspora as well, irrespective of where you're located, who is working assiduously trying to provide some form of aid to us. We're very grateful for that.
Well, I want to say, listen, you guys, um, you know, just keep your head up, because I know your determination, after what you got through, I am positive, I will be hearing MD Tarek and MD Owen at some point in time, and I know folks are going to be working tirelessly to make sure that you guys complete what you set out to do. Jamaica, I know, we know Jamaica needs you and needs your talent, and we just can't let you come to the edge right here, and hopefully, I'm hoping that with the trauma, that something is set up to assist you guys, because I know a lot of times people, we walk around with trauma and we just ignore it and think it's going to go away. But I'm hoping that we hear something that is set up to help all of you that have been through this trauma to get well. Gentlemen, thank you again for telling the story. The story continues. I hope I can come back when I hear Dr. Tarek and Dr. Owen and have, continue this story and let people know where you guys are and update you. All right. So, gentlemen, thank you. And we're going to keep you in our prayers. And again, folks, please look in the comments. We're going to put organizations that are helping us, donate to these organizations, reach out to these organizations to see how you can help Tarek and Owen. Thanks again, guys. Show some love now. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit that notification bell. That way you don't miss a video.